Welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. We have Kyle Gilmore joining us.
Hello, hello.
Love to have you around. I know it's been, I guess it hasn't been too long, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Um, but yeah, it's good to be back. I know we have uh, not so fun Super Bowl for me to recap to talk about.
Yeah.
Got some podcast trophy news to break out. Carr was officially released. Baseball's coming up. Got a little basketball to talk. A lot of things going on, so we'll jump in. Kyle, you want to take it away on that Super Bowl?
Um, yeah, I think a lot of us are pretty well over the Chiefs at this point. But yes, obviously the Chiefs beat the Eagles, high scoring game, 38-35. I think it ended up. Man, the whole time I watched this game from the beginning, this is exactly how I thought it was going to turn out because when the Eagles had their foot on their throat, it just seemed like every chance they had where they could finish. It almost felt like they came off the gas a little bit. Um, with that being said, I do have some big issues with this game. I am one of the people that I absolutely hate to even kind of talk about officiating because I think it's kind of um, I've always kind of been of the mindset, you shouldn't have let it get to that point kind of thing.
Yeah.
But with that being said, um, man, they really have been in the Chiefs' corner this year, and it is interesting. I don't really know how else to put it. I just time after time after time, it just seems. And I'm not saying it's this big conspiracy. Don't put that in my those words in my mouth. But man, they have been lucky on which side of some of these calls they've been on. And okay, and this might be a huge jump, but it got me thinking about it earlier today. Um, there's been a lot of comparisons between Brady and Mahomes and what they've done at this point in their career and all that kind of stuff. That's really what got me on this train of thought. But um, I challenge all the listeners out there to really pay attention to this for the coming years. But in all sports, I always use Shaq as the example. You had your refs that were purposely staying out of his way, trying not to ruffle his feathers back in the day. I mean, this has been admitted. Shaq knew it. They knew it. It was a thing. Okay, this existed. Some people would argue that Tom Brady had this throughout his career, and not to take away from what he's done, but did it impact his career? Absolutely. I feel like the new person in the league that is starting to fit that mold is now Patrick Mahomes. Not to take away from his talent, not to take away with what he can do. I do not for a second want anybody to think I'm saying that. I actually, as much as I despise the Chiefs right now, I love Andy Reid, and I think Patrick Mahomes seems like a very good person. That being said, it does feel like he has that role in the league now that, like, I don't know if it's like he's putting asses in chairs and selling tickets. We need him to do good. Again, I'm not saying it's a big conspiracy, but um, he seems to be fitting that role of that Tom Brady always had, where he was on the right side of call after call after call. Um, so I guess without accusing anybody of anything, I challenge all of our listeners to pay attention to that for the coming years. And remember, you heard it here first.
No,
I
and
don't know.
I
It's just weird.
I even made the joke every time he got hit. He had that bum ankle. I said they got to him a couple times and hit him. Nothing illegal, but I thought for sure as soon as he got hit, I said, "Oh, here comes the flag," and they didn't come, which surprised me. But there were plenty of other things that happened in the game where I was definitely like, "Huh, something's got to be going on here." But
Those late game flags, I will be scratching my head on for a while.
yeah, I
I
mean
still
it.
don't
It
understand.
reminded me of that holding call at the end. Reminded me a lot of the holding call against Logan Wilson last year.
Exact same thing.
Just
Right at the red zone. Um, it was like the Logan Wilson one was a little bit different for me though, because I feel like it was like we burned you before, we got to throw you a bone, and Logan Wilson just happened to be the like I don't know why they
Scapegoat,
targeted
whatever.
him. Yeah, like he did nothing wrong on that play, to be clear. But yeah, I mean I get your point. I guess it just you
Yeah,
hate to
I
see
mean,
that at the end of a game, especially the Super Bowl.
well, and like they don't throw that flag. Chiefs is probably still going to kick a field goal, and then
Probably.
that leaves enough time on the clock for the Eagles to try to at least have a chance to go down there and kick a field goal, or maybe
Yep.
score a touchdown to win it. But yeah, I mean everything just seemed to line up just perfectly, and obviously congratulations to the
Always
Chiefs. As
does.
much as that pains me to say, being a division rival, well, I guess probably you shouldn't even call them a division rival at this point because to
Yeah.
call it a rivalry, you have to win some. But
I'll always be happy for Andy Reid though. I love the Walrus, dude. I absolutely
yeah,
love that man. Good
and
coach.
that's the thing. Like I like him, but no, I hope he doesn't win another one as long as he's with the
Well,
Chiefs.
yeah, you can like him, but not enough for him to do well in Kansas
But
City.
yeah,
I get it.
I was, and that was the one team we needed to not make it to the Super Bowl because they were the one team without a Wyoming Cowboy on that roster. So
Yep.
felt bad for Marcus Epps. He definitely got targeted a couple times. Andy Reid, I mean, I think at this point you just have to tip your cap to him. I mean, he's an absolute genius. You saw them exploit some things that the Eagles struggle with, and they have struggled with all season, and it seemed like that was his entire playbook. And they really neutralized the Eagles' pass rush. I mean, some of that was the field condition being just absolutely horrible, which biggest game of the year, and you have guys just
Eight
slipping all
hundred
over
thousand dollar
themselves.
field.
Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. And the thing for me is, it's not the grass that's the problem. It's that
No.
they must have soaked it. And oh, come on, Carlene, really, from the top rope, just
Oh
just
no.
throwing haymakers there.
Oh, that's my girl.
I mean,
I
I can't refute it, so
love
it's
her.
fine. It's fine. Thanks, Carlene, for popping in.
Oh, I love
um,
it.
but no, I think, I mean, obviously Eagles had a great pass rush all season where they couldn't get to the quarterback, and just because Hassan Reddick, literally anytime he would get around the corner, he would slip and fall. Uh, wasn't really getting much push up the middle either. Um, gotta say, man, she's really going for the jugular here.
I mean, she's pretty ruthless. Oh, I love her. Oh my god, I love her.
Oh boy.
That is my girl.
Back to the Super Bowl. Let me just
Um,
recover my heart a little bit.
yeah. I mean, for me, I really only have two other things to say about the Super Bowl, and then I'll turn it over to you. Just back to Andy for a second. I don't think everyone knows he's amazing, and I still don't think he gets enough credit, despite the fact of who he's coaching. For what he's done at two franchises, very few have ever done
Yeah.
with one franchise. To make the move, and then I guess for me is a lot the argument's always, did somebody inherit a system? Did somebody inherit players? Did they build a team? Well, you can't make that argument with Andy Reid. He's done it twice.
Yeah, he's built it up twice. So
So I give nothing but props for the man. He's still, I mean, growing up the same time I did, he's just one of those coaches that has literally always been around.
yep.
So congrats to him. Probably no one else on that team, but congrats to Andy Reid. Um, and then the one thing I do want to give a nod to the Eagles players. I don't know if you watched the interviews afterwards, which for the record, I think it is bullshit that we interview these players after a loss, like, on this big of a game, after a Super Bowl. Leave them alone, let them go with their families, let them go home. But with that being said, I think they had a lot of class. They were asked about field conditions, they were asked about officiating. And yes, these are somewhat trained responses, but regardless, every single member of that team took the high road. Their responses were things like, well, both sides had to play on the same field, like basically just saying, no, they were better than us today. So I thought that was really special. And that's something you want to see out of your players for sure. But I do think they need to, leave these players alone after these damn losses.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of time to get them in the off season. Benny, it
Yeah.
is actually we're
Mo.
brought to you by
Oh,
Modelo tonight, not
something
Pacifico. So
something about a Modelo and a Raiders hoodie that just seems right.
yeah, I'm on the Mexican beer kick lately, so been
Very
drinking a lot
nice.
of that stuff. But anyway, yeah, no, I think everything you said is accurate. I did want to get to Miss Kelsey, and she was
Yeah.
absolutely the star of the Super Bowl. They interviewed her. Obviously, she had her half Chiefs, half Eagles jersey on. She had one shoe of each team with her
Yeah.
boys' names on there. And I don't know if you saw the podcast of Jason and Travis. They were both talking about her in the limelight and how Jason was basically just crying, saying not tears of sadness because we lost the Super Bowl, but just because of how
Yeah.
happy he was that his mom got to be highlighted in that stage. So, yeah, just love to see that. Obviously, would have been a lot happier if Jason was crying tears of joy and Travis was crying tears of
Yes,
sadness. But
I'm very happy for Mrs. Kelsey and one half of her offspring in the Super Bowl.
yes,
And he lost, to be clear.
yes, he did. And then just one thing I wanted to mention with the Eagles is I think it might be pretty tough for them to sustain the success just because of
Yeah.
all the turnover that they're going to have this upcoming offseason. They already lost their offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen. He went to Indianapolis. He's the head coach there now.
Yep.
And then they lost their defensive coordinator and Jonathan Gannon to Arizona Cardinals. Both those guys are now head coaches. So that speaks volumes to what they were able to do as a program this
Yeah.
season. But they also
I
have 10 pending free agents: Fletcher
well,
Cox, Hargrave.
I was just gonna say they kind of remind me, and they were built a little bit differently, obviously, but they kind of remind me of what happened to the Rams after their Super Bowl win. The unfortunate thing is this is coming off a Super Bowl loss, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know that they come back, and I don't know that they even take the division next year. Not saying they won't or they can't. I'm just saying they got some things to figure out in the offseason to replace people or retain people,
Yeah. It's
and
going to
including
be.
coaching.
Well, and that's the funny thing is it almost seems like it's guaranteed every season NFC East is going to have a different champion.
Always has
I
been, or at least for a long time.
Yeah, I think the last 22 years running now. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're not in the same position next year. My dad did mention Brian Johnson is the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles, which, if that name sounds familiar, he led the Utah Utes over Alabama back in, I think it was the 2008 All-State Sugar Bowl. Um, he was on the Utes coaching staff as a quarterback coach and then offensive coordinator, and he's made a very quick move up to offensive coordinator in the NFL. So good to see a rising star there. But obviously, there's going to be some turnover. Like I said, they have 10 free agents upcoming: Fletcher Cox, Jason Hargrave, Brandon Graham, um, Jason Kelsey, which he may be mulling retirement.
Well, yeah,
There's also some rumors that Lane Johnson may be mulling retirement. So they've got Marcus Epps, Gardner Johnson, who they just traded for from the Saints. Like, they have a huge amount of free agents. They're not going to be able to pay them all. Oh, and a certain quarterback is due for an extension too. So
he's going to be needing some monies.
yeah, and with him finishing second, I think, did he finish second in MVP voting? Pretty sure.
Pretty sure he
Second or
was second
third,
because they made a
somewhere
big
in there.
deal. He was second. He was
Yeah,
second for
that's what I
sure.
thought. So finishing second MVP, he's going to be due for, top of the NFL starter money. So that's probably going to be 35, 40 million a year for him, and that's going to allocate some of that cap space. I know they have an early pick. Can't remember where the pick is from. Seattle, maybe. I don't remember, but I mean, if they hit on the draft, they should be fine. But there's going to be a lot of guys that they're going to have to let go, and then, like I said, all the turnover in the coaching ranks is going to be it's going to be tough for them to repeat, and that's why
Well,
I
and
don't think they'll be. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's a very good point because it's hard going into the draft when you have to hit on your picks. You want to be able to go in loosey goosey and just make the right decisions. You don't want to have to turn your franchise around in the draft. Not that they need turned around, but like you said, they have to hit because they could be having a third of the team walking out the door. So um, I don't know. See
And
what happens.
to Carlene's point, Raiders have had to hit in the draft and have not. So that's why they are in the
uh,
situation they're in. Um,
she's ruthless, man. That's why I love
she
her.
is. Okay, well, with that being said, I think that's all that I had to say about Super Bowl.
Same here. I'm gonna transition here real quick. This past fantasy football season, Bill and I decided to kick off our maiden voyage for our fantasy football league, and it's been very fun. We had some really good matchups, some pretty wild games as far as points scored, and some low record teams made some pretty good turnarounds in the playoffs, and it ended up being a pretty good season. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody, every single person that joined the league and played. And with that being said, I welcome anybody next year. Feel free to join us. Hit us up if we got open spots. This is something I think we want to keep going season after season. Um, with that being said, this is the beautiful trophy. Try to keep the glare off of it a little
Look at
bit.
that beauty.
Square State Sandlot Fantasy League, and we have our first plaque on there. Old Renfro's bag 2022. Mr. Bill Montoya, our very own. It wasn't rigged, I promise.
It was not. I was one of those guys that was. I started off so hot, and then I started to tank at the end of the season. So I thought for sure the playoffs were going to not end well for me, but had some good matchups, and my guys
Yes,
showed out.
sir.
So excited to have my name on that plaque. But
Yeah, very exciting. We got
yeah,
lots of
like
room. That's a lot of seasons.
yeah, I
It's a
think there's room for
lot of
what 20,
seasons.
20 seasons.
Oh, way more than that. I
More than
don't
that.
even know.
Okay.
Probably closer to 30.
Well, hopefully we're still doing it by the time that thing's
Right?
filled up. And yeah, like Kyle said, any of you that didn't play this year, we've got plenty of space on that trophy. We've got plenty of space in the league, so we'll be happy to have you guys in there. We'll make as many spots as we can,
Hell, if we
even
get
if we got to
enough,
go
we'll
up
run a
to
second league. I
yeah
don't care.
second league, whatever we got to do to get you guys all involved. So um, it could have been mine, but the Pats can't lateral. Beautiful. And Benny, I don't know if you saw that. Raph agrees with me. Uncle Gary, we are live. Glad to have you here. Uh, we just talked about your Colts in Shane Steichen, that hire, 6-year contract. So you guys are locked in. Okay, and with maybe that's a good pivot here. Uncle Gary has been a huge critic of the Raiders and how they are ran as a franchise. I posted a little something about Derek Carr over the weekend. News came out that he would not accept a trade to anywhere, and he was going to force the Raiders to cut him, and that's what they did. Um, it obviously saved the Raiders $29.5 million in cap space. They did have like a $5 million dead cap hit to release him. Didn't get any trade compensation back, so that part was rough. But we could have been much worse off. We've had recent contracts such as Matt Ryan. Speaking of the Colts, the Falcons were to move on from him. I think they put a 40, no, I think it was even $60 million cap hit against their cap to release, or I guess trade
Yeah.
Matt Ryan. So at least the Raiders are not in that situation. They're going to have roughly $60 million once you sign your rookie class. It's going to be closer to $50 million for free agents. They can obviously move some money around. So I'm interested to see what they do in the draft, and obviously as things get closer to the draft season, we'll talk more about that and what we think they're going to do. But what were your thoughts on the Raiders not getting anything back for Carr and that
Right.
salary cap,
I'll
all that
start
fun
with
stuff?
the car stuff, and then I'm actually going to talk about your draft because I have some opinions. Um, I think this is a win-win. I know that some people might have been their feathers ruffled by Carr doing what he did. Um, I guess I'll start by saying I'm sorry it was you guys, but a part of me also is just thrilled for Carr because I think this opens the door for him. You touched on you guys not taking a cap hit. I think that's huge um, because these quarterbacks that get to this position that Carr's in, this is what limits them to what teams they go to.
Yeah.
It always just condenses the market. So for you guys not having the hit, and then now he can basically go anywhere he wants if he's willing to accept X amount of money, blah blah blah. It really opens him up to literally any quarterback needy team. So I'm happy for you guys because you can move on. I think it's you've been 1 foot in, 1 foot out the last few seasons, anyways. I mean, we can talk about whether it was fair or not. I think he was a scapegoat. I don't think it was all on Carr's shoulders to a large degree. But with that being said, he also, didn't carry the team and some of those things. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the team. I actually do have a big theory about you guys on the draft. This is barring, obviously, you guys making any big free agency pickup on any of the quarterbacks that might be available. I see you guys making a big swing here. I really do think you guys move up and tag one of the top 3 quarterbacks right out the gate. I'm not sure what pick. I'm not sure where you move up, but I see you guys moving up in the draft. We'll see what happens. It's just kind of a move I could see you guys making. And also a huge part of that, I'm actually glad your uncle just mentioned that. I didn't realize you just put that up there. I think a huge part of that also hinges on if you keep Jacobs or not.
Yeah.
Because if you guys keep Jacobs, you have Devontae Adams. I don't even really care about Waller anymore. If he stays healthy and whatever impacts the season, great. If you guys move on from him, I don't think you've lost anything.
Did you see his
Um,
new sweet new head tattoos?
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so saying you keep your offensive weapons for the most part, I see you guys making a big swing at quarterback, and I think it might be fun to see you guys tag one of these younger guys. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
So
kind of the feeling I'm getting.
yeah, we got a couple questions here in the chat, which I'll
Oh,
get to in
what we
just a
got?
second. Just about Jacobs, and then why is no one talking about him being a good fit for the Bucks? I'll get to both of those. Um, but as you were saying, I think we do probably. I think the most likely thing is we bring back Stidham and run him back at the start of the season and get a rookie quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers would be great, but I don't think he would fit McDaniels and what he wants, especially where he has all this success and McDaniels does not have that success as a head coach. I think they would probably butt heads.
Oh,
Where
the
Yeah,
egos in that room would just be unreal.
so I don't think that's a realistic path for us. I think honestly, I think both the guys we would want are going to be gone, 1 and 2. I think whoever the Bears trade that number 1 spot for is going to take Bryce Young, and then which
Yeah.
I honestly think it's going to be the Colts. So Gary, hope you like Bryce Young, um, the 5'9"
See,
quarterback out of Alabama, and then I think C.J. Stroud goes number 2 to the Texans. So I think to get one of the top 3, we're going to have to trade up to probably 3 or 4, depending on who
yeah.
the Colts, if they were to trade up to 1, whoever they traded. Uh, if
That's
the Bears, I
that's
don't think
part
they're
of
going to.
why I was just gonna say that's part of what factored into my thinking is because I figured the Bears move back, and I actually figure they move back again.
Yeah,
They
and that's what I
have
think is going to
so
happen.
much ground to make up that I think that opens the door for you guys or somebody else.
Well, and that's why I think
But
we
I
have to
just
go
think it
up to
could be fun.
3 to get one of the top 3. And
At
I,
least 4. But yeah.
Gary, I hope you're right, and you guys do take Levis because he's very inaccurate. Um,
That
he
would
looked
be
good in his
wild.
pro day, but
That would shake up the draft though.
I would love C.J. Stroud to go to the Raiders. He obviously has an interest in throwing to Devontae Adams too. He's alluded to that. So, but no, I think
Yeah, him
Jacobs.
and everyone else who's a quarterback.
Yes, Jacobs is going to come back. He's already said he's willing to play on the franchise tag, but he said, if you want me to be a hero, you're going to have to pay me like a hero. So if you want me to play on the franchise tag, then you better have a good team around me. So he's at least expressed interest in coming back to the Raiders. He's expressed interest in playing on the franchise tag if they put a good team around him. And I think they're obviously going to have to make some moves for that to happen. Devontae Adams is going to have to be happy with who's throwing him the football to, because he has individual goals such as, trying to match Jerry Rice, all that fun stuff. So he's not going to want, Jarrett Stidham being the long-term answer at quarterback. Obviously, he played well in the 2 games that he played with him, but I'd be interested in that to see what happens. And Gary, like you said, no one's talking about him being a good fit for the Bucs. I really do think he is in Derek Carr. And the good thing about the clause that he had in his contract, he's able to sign with any team immediately. So
Yeah.
his free agency starts right now, and everyone else, they start at the beginning of the league new year, which is about a month from today. So he's going to take some visits. He's going to get the best offer that he can get, and that's why I have a hard time holding it against him that he wouldn't take a trade, because
Oh yeah.
initially I thought the Saints were willing to just absorb the contract, but they wanted to make him take a pay cut. So I understand, I don't want to take a pay cut to be traded somewhere when I can go up against everyone
Well,
else.
at this point in your career, you have to
Yeah.
put yourself first. I mean,
Well, and
at
he's
that
going to
point,
be
it's just what needs
uprooting
to
his
happen.
family and everything. So it's obviously got to be a nice fit for everyone.
Yep.
And if he's going to only go, if he's only going to have one bidder, essentially, then that's not going to be good for him. So I don't hold ill will towards Carr, but it is still annoying that we weren't able to get anything back for him. When he retires, I'll be grateful for the time that we had with him, but I will not be cheering for him elsewhere. I am a Raiders fan first, so. And what you said, Gary, Carr with Arians seems like a no-brainer. I don't think. I mean, Arians is up there in the front office ish
Not as
role,
involved anymore.
so he'll be involved somewhat in the offense, but we'll see what they do. I think they actually named an offensive coordinator today, or they had zeroed in on a couple candidates. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Dave Canales as their OC. So I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see that pairing and how that works. I don't think Carr could do a Bruce Arians, because Bruce Arians has very high standards and he's not afraid to call people out, and that seemed to be
Yeah.
what turned Carr against Josh McDaniels. So we'll see what happens there. Jimmy G, Raf, as he just said, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders sign him. My only concern with that would be how much we have to pay him and his availability, because he always gets hurt. So if it was 15 million for a 2-year deal, 2-year deal at 15 million per year, with the first year only being guaranteed, if he gets hurt after game 6 or something,
I
and you
would
have a rookie ready
totally,
to take over,
I would
maybe
totally bank on Jimmy G if I was in a 6-game league.
six
He
game
would
league.
be, he would be my guy.
Yeah, I mean, he wins for sure, but I don't know how happy Devontae Adams would be with Jimmy G throwing him the football, because that guy does not extend the field at all. But
Well, and that's
and
the
that's
thing. It's just like you couldn't bring in like a Lamar Jackson had he been available. Um, Devontae Adams would be miserable in an offense like that. Just
yes,
absolutely miserable.
for sure.
Um, I don't know. I still just I think the path forward for you guys is young, somebody with an arm that is not afraid to just boom it down there and let Devontae do his thing.
Well, and
Um, that's that's going to
I'd
keep
be
you in games.
for sure, and I'd be more in favor of, let's say we can't trade up 2, 3, or all the guys are gone by the time we would be able to swing a trade like that. Um, I would be not opposed to the Raiders moving down and taking an Anthony Richardson, signing a
Oh
Jimmy
yeah,
Garoppolo or Jarrett Stidham. That's what Ben just said. Richardson from Florida, for sure, and he's gonna need some. He's gonna
I
need some
like it.
grooming for sure. But oh,
Logan.
here we go. Logue coming in with what happened to the Aaron Rodgers talk. I don't think it's happening, Logue. I think he's either going to come back to the uh, Packers and play one more season out with them, or I think he will retire. I don't know.
The
He's
real
putting teams,
question,
or maybe the Jets are willing to give up what they want for him.
the real question is, what will media outlets cover when Aaron Rodgers isn't in the league anymore? What will their
Yeah,
offseason talk be?
we
I
can't talk
cannot
about
wait.
darkness retreats and
I cannot
ayahuasca.
wait until the Aaron Rodgers saga is over. Not because I have anything against him. He's fun to watch play for the most part, but I am so ready for this to be done.
Logue
I
says he's
just,
in a dark room meeting Jesus. I'm pretty sure he's retired. He
I
hasn't
mean,
started it yet. He starts this weekend, if I remember right. That's what he said on the Pat McAfee show. I think it starts Thursday. Oh, yeah, tomorrow maybe? I think tomorrow. But
I wish he'd stop speaking in riddles and just tell us he's going to go get high off his ass and contemplate his future.
Rogers is an ass. Very nice.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
if the
no,
shoe
that
fits.
whole thing is going to be strange. I don't think I could do that. But anyway, okay, we'll move on from that. That's enough car talk, enough Raiders
Yeah,
talk. Um, let's talk some baseball.
let's do
I'm
it.
sh-
Tis the
all these
season.
comments are going to stop except Ben because Ben's the only baseball fan on here, I think. But
That's okay. We'll bring him back in later, maybe.
we'll start off with Frankie Montas. They were just or it just got announced that he is having shoulder surgery and likely out a good chunk of the season, if not the whole thing, depending on how that surgery goes.
Wow.
This is meaningful to me just because the A's traded Montas to the Yankees in the middle of last season after the All Star break. We didn't get a ton of great returns, which I was bummed about at the time, but I think this probably makes sense. I think the Yankees were probably concerned about the shoulder injury that he suffered at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season. Missed some time, came back before the All Star break, looked great, but once he got shipped off to New York, he didn't look like himself. So um, obviously, this is not great news for the Yankees because he was planning to be a factor in their rotation, but not great for them. What do you got with your Pirates?
Um, I guess anybody that didn't know, Brian Reynolds had requested a trade, something I honestly can't blame him for. Obviously, he's been our arguably the best player on our team for the last few seasons, all-star player. Um, Speaking of the Yankees, they've been one of the top suitors for him for a few seasons now. But it just came out that he did say that he is open to a long-term deal despite the trade request. So I do think some of it was probably, just positioning, at the negotiation table. So I'm really hoping we retain him. Um, Man, if we could have Brian Reynolds, Kutch, and Jack Sawinski out in the outfield for me, I would be pretty ecstatic going into the season. So um, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, he's still probably going to be with us this season, at least to start the season. But I'm hoping they can work something out because he's very talented. He's somebody that can kind of carry us into this transition that we're hoping is finally coming to fruition. Obviously, but I thought it was pretty big that he did come out and say that. So
Yeah,
Ben Sherrington, get to the desk and make this work.
eyes are on
Um,
you, big fella.
that's all I got. Other than I'm still over the moon to see Kutch back in a Pirates jersey.
That's what Benny just said.
Never,
Um,
never in a million years that I think that was finally. I mean, I don't know if any of you watched the press conference. Um, Regardless of what the Pirates have done in the past, Ben Sherrington is just an awesome individual. He loves baseball. What he did in Boston was amazing. Obviously we're hoping he can do the same thing here. But seeing his excitement and the way he spoke about being the one to be able to welcome him back, things like that. That's the kind of stuff that gets you excited, regardless of what Nutting's doing as owner. I mean, we've beat that horse to death, but I absolutely love Sherrington. I hope he is able to bring this whole thing and right the ship. Um, but I'll get off my soapbox. I just still can't believe old 22 is going to be back out there in the outfield. So through the moon. I got to order me a new jersey, I think.
Well, it's going to be infectious for all the young guys. We've already talked about that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that also played into Brian Reynolds being a little more open to coming back. They obviously extended him for, what was it, 2 seasons after
Yeah.
last season. Gave him a pretty decent extension, but it was kind of a kick the can down the road for further
Yeah.
conversations. I think it's all hinging on Nutting at this point to open the paycheck or the checkbook to, if they want to keep
Yep.
him around, because ultimately he should be part of the plan building forward in what looks like you guys starting to spend, starting to build up the major league roster, and starting to compete for that division in what should be a very winnable division. So I'm
That's
excited to
another
see what
reason
you
I'm
guys
so
do.
excited
Yeah, for
is
sure.
Milwaukee kind of cleaned house a little bit, and I really think it leveled the playing field. So, I mean,
Well, and you get to
obviously,
play the Reds a couple times this year.
yeah, but 2 seasons ago they were on fire. So, I mean, I never know what to think when we're playing the Reds, but that's all I got for the Pirates, though. I just
Okay.
pumped.
So Benny did mention we were talking about the Montas trade. They got back J.P. Sears and Ken Waldachuk. Both of those guys looked decent last year. They got plenty of burn in the
Yeah.
rotation. Sears, he looked pretty good. I think he's the better of the two prospects. Waldachuk looked like he only had two, maybe one pitch, possibly two. Didn't really have an out pitch once he got ahead in counts, and had some command issues. So that's the thing I'm most curious about, is what the A's do this upcoming season. Blackburn looks to be back and healthy. They did sign the Japanese guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he looks like he's going to be pretty good. So getting him on a 1 year deal, 100 mile an hour fastball. I assume you're talking about Waldachuk, Benny, for that fastball. Oh, here we go. We got some comments from the Peanut Gallery and Logue. Pirates, that's the farm team for the rest of MLB, right? AAA, I think. Brutal. No,
Isn't
that's
that what?
you're thinking about the A's, Logan, not the Pirates.
That was us a couple seasons ago. All right, we've
Yeah.
moved on. You
So
jerk.
yeah, I mean, I guess I should mention I will be going to spring training to watch my A's. So I'm super excited about that. Any of you guys are planning to go to spring training? Hit me up. Maybe we can match up the times. That'll be
I
a good
can't.
thing.
You go to the wrong place.
What do you mean I go to the wrong place? Oh, you want to go
you'll
to
you'll
Florida?
be you'll
No,
be
no,
in
no.
another state.
Trust me. You don't want to go to Florida for spring training because the fields are, I think the closest two fields are 3 hours apart. Where if you go to Arizona,
Yeah,
the furthest you're going to be apart is like 20 minutes from the nearest stadium. So you can just bounce park to park if you really want to. The only problem
that's
is
fair.
they all start. Most of the games start at like 1 p.m. Arizona time, and then you have the one. Some of them will go night games. So I don't know. I still think Arizona's the far superior experience for spring training, just because you can pretty much see half the league without going too far. Oh, here we go, Gary. Text me and let me know when you guys are going to be there, and we'll see if we can match up for.
Nice.
I've been to the Dodgers Stadium there, so it was pretty nice. Is that Candlestick? No, not Candlestick. Talking Stick, something like that. It's a good one. But we'll be in Hohokam for at least one of those days, which is the A's Park, and it is better than the Coliseum probably. A little less seating, but
Ugh. Ugh.
Camelback. That's
Ugh.
right. Yep, yep.
I'm not gonna
Camelback.
say anything. I'm not gonna hit you while you're down.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And
I mean,
I guess I should mention that
it's
as
no
well.
PNC Park. I know that.
Oh God, I can't wait to go to that. If we can't make it happen this year, we
We
need to make
have
it
to,
happen next
man.
year.
Next year for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because that's the part.
It'll be easier now because we could actually catch an A's Pirates game a
Yeah,
lot more
because they'll
consistently
play
now.
they'll play every year. But problem is next
Yep.
year it might be in Oakland, so we'll see. And
I
that's
hope it. I
that's
kind
one
of hope
thing.
it is.
That's one thing I wanted to mention is Oakland talks have stalled. Mayor hasn't really brought up the topic. Um, when Rob Manfred was asked about the Howard Terminal Stadium project, he basically said all talks have been about Vegas. going forward, and that's what Benny just
Yeah.
alluded to. Where was it? I can't even find it now. He
It
said
was
something
it
about
was a
the
ways
A's.
up.
Yeah, he said A's will be.
2025.
There you go. 2025. He says A's will be in Las Vegas. I don't think that's possible on the timeline. I think it'd probably have to be closer to like 26, 27, which is going to put the A's in a really tough spot because their lease is up in Oakland after 2024. If I'm not mistaken, I think if they had a project lined up with Oakland, they would for sure extend that until they could move into their new stadium. But Oakland could really play hardball if they decide to walk. They might be playing in their AAA stadium in Las Vegas for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So that might not be great
Brutal.
for the A's. I did want to mention that the A's now they have several lobbyists in Las Vegas that are registered, and they basically said they're going to take the best deal that they can get either from Oakland or Las Vegas, but that all momentum has shifted to Las Vegas, and that's probably some posturing, trying to get Oakland to get moving. I still think it's probably like 55-45 Oakland in Oakland's favor at this point because of how much money the owner has thrown into Oakland and making it work. But I would say there is some steam gaining in Las Vegas. And if that happens, it's going to be like what's happened to the Raiders in their home stadium, except much worse because we've already seen with the Raiders, there's not that established fan base in Las Vegas. You've got a lot of transplants that aren't from Vegas that carry their team loyalties with them from wherever they came from. A lot of the visiting teams are filling up the arena in,
Big time.
you know, so that's not going to be great. And for baseball, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how easy it's going to be when you have all the other things that are going on in that town. Baseball is, I don't want to say it's a dying sport because it's not. Ratings are up, all that fun stuff. I think attendance is
Yeah,
down.
but it's a hard sport because of the amount of games there are too. Like consistent, um, consistent seating, or I guess consistent people going to the games is not always there because you can always catch another game. You can always catch another game. It's not like, football Sunday. You're very limited on how many games a year, how many home
Yep.
games. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, being a Pirates fan, our PNC Park is rarely filled. It's usually special occasions. Um, it's
which is
hard. I don't know.
crazy.
It's interesting.
But that's
Yeah.
the hard thing about baseball is, I mean, you're playing a lot of these games Monday through Friday.
Yep.
Well, I guess I should say Monday through Thursday. Fridays are usually pretty packed for across the league. But oh boy, Benny said Coliseum crowd averaged 7,000 last year.
I know. I thought ours was bad until I started looking at your guys's.
Yeah, it's not a great situation, and that's what I'm saying is, if you're trying to sell these seats in Vegas on a Monday through Thursday, that's not typically when most of the visitors are in town
No.
anyway. So it's going to be a tough sale, and that's why I think Howard Terminal makes the most sense. You get all that positive momentum there in Oakland. You get the shopping district, you get all the housing, you get everything revitalized that part of town. I think that's a great project to take.
And you have a
Where,
good fan base, man.
yeah, I
An
mean,
amazing fan base. You have a chance to literally have that fan base fall back in love with you
yeah, and
after
that's
you've
that's the
pissed
thing
them
is
off over and over.
every single step of this way in trying to get a new stadium, they've ostracized the fan base to the point of they're the fans are saying until he builds here a new stadium or until he sells the team, we're not
Yeah.
going to games, and it just keeps getting more and more that way. So, and they had the A's all access tickets pass that they had where you could essentially buy tickets, and it was kind of like Netflix where you just chose which day you wanted to go, and you showed your all access pass, you got 50% off the in or the vending or the team store. Like it was such a great deal, brought so many people into the games, and we finally started to see attendance going back up. And then obviously COVID happened, and they, rather than making it more affordable for families, they doubled down on the pricing once they came back. And you saw record low attendance last year. So it's not great, but we'll move on from my A's. Anything you had left baseball wise?
My last point that I thought was kind of fun is just Max Scherzer and Verlander are back together again. I
That's
think
going to
it's
be a
been
deadly
10
rotation.
years back in Detroit. So that's pretty. I mean, I'm a huge Scherzer fan. He kind of fizzled late in the playoffs last year, which sucked, but he's just a very intense guy. He's fun to watch, and you can't not like Verlander doing what he's doing at his age. So interesting. See how that turns out next season.
Yeah.
Or this season.
Well, and Raf just alluded to, I think a lot of the problem too is fans are there. They just need motivation to show up, and you've seen that with San
True
Diego.
so,
I mean,
right?
we've talked about it.
Oh yeah,
They've dumped a bunch of money in, and now they have sold out
it's
their season
working.
tickets. I mean,
That's
it's
what
a hot
happens when you
ticket.
want to.
Prices are going up. Yeah.
Yeah, when you want
Which
to empower your fan base, that's the outcome.
I don't want to say this with my uncle Gary watching because he's a huge Dodgers fan, but I'm
Oh no.
excited to see what the Padres do this season. Um,
Oh, big time.
I think them being competitive makes that division a lot better. I feel sorry for Rafts Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Giants, I will never feel sorry
Well,
for, so I hope
the
they lose
one
100
thing,
games, but, you know.
the only reason I even care about the Padres at all is I still have a bit of a soft spot for Joe Musgrove, but um, just seeing them being able to compete, and don't get me wrong, they spend money. It's not like they're the A's or the Pirates of the league, but they're competitive with the top spending teams. Um, so that's one reason I like seeing them do well is it gives me hope that if we ever do turn that corner, um, you can still compete with some of these absolute top spending teams. Don't get me wrong, I know that they spend way more than we're probably ever going to combined,
Yeah.
but it's
Oh,
nice to see that they're competing with them top level teams,
oh,
spending
Stevie
wise.
Cohen, they were asking him, hey, you're hitting like the top tier of the luxury tax, right? And he was like, hey, these guys made rules. I'm following them. He was just dunking on
Yeah,
them SOBs. And they were like,
yeah.
the reporters were like, well, some of the are you getting any pushback from your fellow owners on like how much you're spending? And he was like, hey, it's not my job to tell them how to run their franchise. I'm just running mine. If they don't want to spend money, well, that's up to them. So
You ain't wrong.
I wish, like Benny said, A's need a new owner, just like the Raiders. Not gonna go that far. I still love my bowl cut backpack kindergarten teacher or
Can he
kindergarten
please
student.
can he please just get a haircut? I will take him so much more serious if he would just get a haircut.
There was some photos floating around on Twitter this last couple days of him with just his hair shaved off. Pretty sure they were photoshopped, but if they weren't, he should totally go that look because it looked
I,
much
like,
better. But
I
it's
don't
fine.
even care if he goes like Joe Dirt mullet. Like just do anything else. Like literally anything else. All right, I'm done. Sorry. It's the
Okay.
worst haircut in the NFL.
All right. So we're getting close to the All Star break for NBA. In fact, I think it's coming up this weekend. Warriors just played their last game before the break, and they are sitting at 29-29. Things are not trending well with the Steph Curry injury. They do not play defense at all, which is not what they built this, 4 rings up on. They always played great defense. That's what they brought Iggy back for. Hey, hey, Gary. Before we move on from MLB, he just said it's funny how MLB all talked about the Dodgers spending. I I've never liked the spending just because my owner's not doing it, but I've always been a
Yeah,
proponent of owners spending money because it means players are getting more money.
yeah.
I
The
know
only
that's
reason I
not,
hate the Dodgers spending money is because yes, we don't. That's my only
yeah.
reason.
So it's it's just us being envious of owners actually putting money into their product.
like
But
like like my team has a different pool for free agency. Like, I can't go to MLB.com and see all the players available because they're not available to me.
yeah,
That's why I hate their spending.
the A's don't even
Oh man.
sell player jerseys anymore because we don't have any
Oh,
players
neither do we.
with names essentially. So that's
Last
why.
thing I'm going to say about baseball, and then I'm done.
Go ahead.
Please, please, please instate the floor. That's all I'm asking. Just put the salary floor in, please.
Yes,
Okay, I'm done.
it'll never happen because you've got poor owners like my John Fisher with multiple billions in his bank account
Poor.
that can't afford to pay for
Oh,
his
jeez.
team. It's fine. All right, so back to basketball. Like I said, Warriors not trending well. Clay has been a bright spot. He's definitely scoring like he has been in the past. So that's great to see him get back up to speed. He's definitely not the defender he was prior to the ACL and then the Achilles injury on the same leg. But he's not a liability like he was at the beginning of the season. And like I said, he's scoring a lot. Jordan Poole has been a completely different player this season. Um, he hasn't scored at the clip. He's scored last couple games, but he's almost even been a liability throwing him out there because of all the turnovers and whatnot. I think he can grow into it, and it seems like every time Steph gets injured, that's when Jordan Poole starts to step up, which is when we need him to. But it would be nice if he could be that sixth man that we need him to be when Steph's on the floor. So I don't know. Um, they did trade away James Wiseman, which I called just because of his cap hit. They turned him into 5 second-round picks, and then through a 4-team trade, ended up getting Gary Payton the second back, which John
Oh,
and I
yeah.
were both ecstatic about. But come to find out, his abdominal injury that he had surgery for back in July before the season started was re-aggravated, and he's going to miss the next month. So we got him to shore up the defense, and he won't be getting into the roster anytime soon. So that sucks. There's an investigation into how that was handled. Maybe they'll get a couple picks back or something like that from Portland, but obviously that doesn't help us right now. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough title defense. I think we're probably going to be in the play-in, which sucks because, that's a crapshoot. You're essentially throwing
I
all
feel
your
bad for
odds
sure.
into uh, a 4-team playoff just to get into the playoffs, and then you're exhausted, and other teams are all rested up. So, not a great situation, but like I said, all you need is a ticket into the dance to have a chance. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's see. You have your
Uh,
magic notes. Go ahead and get to that
yeah,
real quick.
I'll keep it pretty short. There's still, as far as the win loss column, not a huge change. But, the games they're playing are noticeably different. I think they're building a very, very good young core. Banchero's playing great. I just really happy watching the young guys play, and they're competitive even when we're losing. I just like that we're not getting blown away like we have in the last couple seasons. So hopefully turning that corner. I do want to make one note. Your beautiful Wyoming Cowboys hat you got on. Unfortunately, we lost one of our ex UW players. Conrad Dobler passed away at the age of 72. For those of you that don't know, he played at UW, went on to play with the Cardinals, and then I think he played a couple seasons with the Saints and finished out somewhere. I think maybe the Bills. Either way, spent most of his career with the Cardinals. Ultimately, he was considered one of the dirtiest players to ever play the league, possibly the dirtiest. Granted, he played in a very different time, but he was not shy about the fact that he used unconventional means, playing in the trenches. One of the things he was known for, and this is just one of many, if you're a person that is willing to punch Joe Green, yeah, you are an interesting individual to say the least.
Yes.
So yeah, he's literally punched me, Joe Green, on the field. So there's that. But in light of all that, I just sad day. We lost another one of our, ex players, and but living to 72, that's what you want to see for football players, because we don't get all of them. Many of them don't make it that far. So, just I guess thoughts are with the Dobler family, and I can only imagine being able to watch him play. Back in the day, obviously long before our time, but
Yeah.
so yeah, if you don't know who Conrad Dobler is, do yourself a favor and look him up.
I was just gonna say,
He's an interesting player.
Cody Tucker of 7220 Sports put out a article on him, basically saying he gave his all for football and was it worth it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, just because I was busy at work when he pushed out that article. So I'm going to catch it tonight. I'm sure it's a great article. Cody puts out great work. So yeah, I'll be reading that tonight about Conrad Dobler. And then speaking of Wyoming Cowboys, they went to the University of New Mexico last night and were huge underdogs and actually ended up winning pretty handily in the pit, which is one of the toughest places to play in college basketball. Yeah. So that was a pretty impressive win, especially when you consider they're down to 7 scholarship players that are healthy. This season has not been what we thought it was going to be, and I'm really hoping Graham Ike gets healthy and comes back for one more season. I don't think that they will have the same team next year. I mean, obviously Maldonado, after his 18 seasons at University of Wyoming, will be able to return. But
yeah,
it should be a new team. A lot of the guys should return, so we'll see what happens here. Gary said thank you for Mo Bamba from your Magic.
Oh yeah,
trade for the Lakers.
I was gonna make a note of it. I'm pumped about it. We had he was never seeing the court at all. So
yeah, and
I was why happy to do anything with him. So
that Wiseman brought back Gary Payton, but not great. Let's see. Who is on the UW most decorated football player?
Most decorated college or professional?
I'll have to get some clarification on that one. Let me know what you mean by that. You talking about like in college or at the NFL level? He's a UCLA fan, so. And then let's see, most decorated college player. He says.
Dang.
I mean, recent you got Josh Allen. Javon Bonite was an absolute stud at wide receiver.
That's true.
I was shocked he never made it. Logan Wilson. I mean, they've got the guys. Chad Muma was an AP. I mean, these are obviously.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be back when. What's his name? Our quarterback back then.
Smith.
No, before him. This was back when we were young. He went to the NFL, but he didn't last long. I'm wondering if.
Trying to think of
he tore up. I mean, he put up crazy numbers, but I can't remember.
I would say Javon Bonite's probably the best all-around player to ever go, and it still baffles me he never made it in the pros. I mean, I think he got drafted 7th round or something, and now he's a wide receiver coach somewhere. But okay, Benny said New Mexico State University suspended men's basketball for the rest of the year. I didn't see that. Wonder what that's for. You've got, looks like Kyle froze. Oh, you're back? Nope. Kyle's froze. Okay, I'll just wrap this up real quick. Hall of Fame class for the NFL. It was announced. Oh, here, maybe he's back. There we go. You back?
I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Okay, let's do the NFL Hall of Fame class, and then we'll call it.
Okay, I got to make one comment about basketball as far as college basketball first, and then I'm down.
Okay.
So this is just something that bothers me. This is also why I really like that they're going to the playoff format. But Pitt right now is number 1 in the ACC, having beaten multiple ranked teams within the ACC and are still not ranked. I will never understand how this stuff works. It is so frustrating to me. I think it'll all end up it'll work out in the wash because, like I said, the playoff format, that's why people want it, but just very stupid. But I will move on. I just wanted to talk about the Hall of Fame class because this is one of those classes that is very near and dear to me because of players that I got to watch their full careers, and then just some players that I am just absolutely in love with. The first one being Zach Thomas. I absolutely loved this man when I was younger. Had his jersey. Super tiny linebacker, but my God, he played like a monster. Very, very fun. He wore the iconic 54. I rocked that number for the longest time because of him. I'm so happy for Zach Thomas. He was somebody that I was worried would kind of get pushed by because maybe not the physical features and things like that, but super pumped for him. The next one being Joe Thomas. As much as I hate to admit it, has seen as how he spent, I believe, his whole career as a Brown. He may have gone somewhere right there at the end, but
nope, I think he retired before he was even.
My God, I can't remember a more dominant offensive lineman for as long as he was dominant. He's that
career.
Oh, totally. He's that prototypical lineman, though. If you were going to build an offensive line, Joe Thomas is who I would start with. And then lastly, this is hands down my favorite corner to ever play football, and that's Darrelle Revis, Pitt alumni, by the way. Super pumped for him. I mean, he was a shoo-in. I mean, he was going in no matter what. But I don't think I've ever seen that out of a corner ever, and I don't know that we ever will in that same fashion. I would say for those 3 to 4 years.
Not for that amount of time.
Those 3 to 4 years where he was just locked in, I'm blown away by that still.
Try like 6 to 8 where he was a locked
in. I'm talking about when he was like nobody did anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't targeted for like a season and a half, it felt like, in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The career was there for longer term, but I mean, there came a point when he was, getting a little older and he wasn't the same shutdown that he was, but I can't remember a single time college anywhere that I've seen a cornerback like that, and to see it at the professional level, it's one of those things that, I mean, I don't know. It's like growing up watching Shaq play, like him, hate him, whatever. It's something that'll always stick with me because you'll never see it in that same fashion ever again, probably. And I feel the same way about Darrelle Revis. So super pumped about the Hall of Fame class, and congratulations to all those guys. And
and I'll
just
mention
a cool class for me.
Real quick, Rondé Barber and DeMarcus Ware also in there.
Fair enough.
And those then Don Coryell is long past you.
That one hit me. I was like, I just went to the Hall of Fame this past year, and walking through the busts and everything. It never even struck me, like, how was he not in forever ago? Most modern offenses are some variation of things that he pioneered. It's just crazy. But
yep, it's crazy and that's another one of those guys where, let's wait till he's dead to give him his honor. It pisses me off, but nothing you can do about it now. But there is one guy that I think got absolutely hosed in not making this, and he should have made it last year, and that is Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt was part of the Greatest Show on Turf. And Patrick Willis was snubbed from our 49ers fan.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
For sure.
I actually have one too that has been bugging me for a while. And that's,
Benny said Jim Plunkett, Lester Hayes.
Oh yeah, for sure. But LC Greenwood, man, he's the last member of that Steelers defensive line that is not in the Hall, and I still will never understand how he hasn't gone. And for that matter, Hines Ward. I know the numbers might not be there, but you ask anybody that played against him, and there weren't very many that played like him.
And how about Todd
I'm
Christensen?
I'm a little biased.
For God's sake.
Oh, don't get me started.
obviously that
I
that
will
one
never.
hits home
I mean,
real
that
hard.
one's near and dear for sure.
Yeah.
But that card, man, that will always be the image. When you can be on a card like that with Jerry Rice and have better numbers,
Yeah.
I
Lead the
just
league
I
in
can't
receiving as a tight end.
fathom
Yeah.
against Jerry
And
Rice.
Gary said better Hall of Fame class than baseball's, and that's absolutely true. Um,
Yeah,
Baseball sending just Scott rolling in this year when there's Barry Lamar Bonds just sitting there. Obviously, you've got the cloud of steroids and
controversy.
all that stuff, but where majority of their peers were doing it at the same time under the veil of Balco. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like baseball needs to get a lot of those writers out of the voting process and lead it up to the
They're
peers.
such a weird group, though. They're
Yeah,
so much
it's
weirder than any other
obviously
sports committee.
obviously Barry has the cloud of. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can deny that he was doing steroids the way that his
Oh
body
yeah.
changed. But I mean, even before that, he was the best hitter in baseball. Uh, just added a lot of power, whatever. Um, he was a Hall of Famer
Man,
before he started bulking up. So
well,
that's
that
the
and it's
thing.
regardless of right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, him, McGuire, and Sosa. Let's just call a spade, save baseball. You're still
Yeah,
banking on what they did. Let's, you know, I don't care. Put an asterisk by it. I don't give a shit. But get him in there.
for
It's
sure. Yeah.
ridiculous.
Benny says Roger Clemens for sure. There's I don't know, man. That shit just pisses me off because, like I said, it's
Okay,
really
so
just the writers holding it against him for not being a good interview
well,
or not being
here's my
friendly to them.
example. It'd be like saying, I mean, it's literally the equivalent of saying, okay, well, Tom Brady can't go into the Hall of Fame because of Inflategate. I mean, there'll be people
Gary,
who
do
will
you
want to make
guys
that
distribute
argument.
this stuff?
Are we getting sponsored? But I mean,
I
that's
hope
really the
so.
same argument. I mean, Tom Brady's, I mean, Barry
He
Bonds is of
says
the
no.
same level. You know what I mean? So to do this here, it would be the equivalent of Tom Brady not being allowed into the Hall of Fame, which let's all face it, he's going to be a first ballot. I mean, obviously. Um, I don't know. It's very frustrating because they changed the face of baseball, whether it was by, quote unquote nefarious means or not. Um, I mean, they made baseball exciting. Sorry about it. Let them in there.
Gary, just get us a sponsorship and we will take all the hard liquor you want to send us.
Oh
uh,
man,
okay, well,
I
that's
love
all
it.
I had, except one last note. You guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, will be
Woo
visiting
woo.
the Las Vegas Raiders next season.
We're going to the Death Star.
So maybe we have a Square State Sandlot reunion in Vegas,
I
and
like it. Maybe live from the Death Star. I don't know.
that would be pretty cool.
Have to see what we can do there. If
Okay,
we do
well,
make it, I really do want to go see that mural for sure. And I'd like to get a picture with it of us.
the only problem is it's in the Twitch lounge, so I don't know how
Oh,
you get
I
in there.
misunderstood. I thought it was just in one of the open stairwells. Dang it.
No, yeah,
Hmm.
it's. He said it's in the Twitch lounge, the staircase going up to that, and the only way. I mean, maybe we could con our way to get in there, but I think the only. I don't remember how you get in there. I think you have to be maybe
Just
special
gonna have
tickets
to
or something like that. I
just
don't know.
gonna just gonna have to crank up the charm and see if we can get through. I don't know. All right.
Well, I don't.
Fair
I don't know
enough.
how you say no to this pretty face, but
Oh
all
my
right. Do
gosh.
do we have any questions from anyone listening right now before we call
We'll
it
open up the
comments?
last 30 seconds, minute for some questions.
We will be having an interview with Eric Pauly coming up. Any of you guys that want to be on, if you have something to talk about, we'd be happy to have you on. So, any
Yeah.
questions? comments you guys want to get in before we call it, get them in now, and we'll highlight them, whatever. So,
All right. I think we got crickets.
well, might take a second for them to type, but comment section has been wild in tonight.
Yeah,
Logan
this is
said he
nice.
had to
This is
step
awesome.
away because he's headed to the church to work. So, all right, looks like that's
thank you,
it.
everybody.
So,
Thank you to all of you that hopped on and interacted with us today. It always makes it a lot more fun.
for sure. And we will catch you guys on the next one sometime next week, hopefully with Eric Pauly. We'll have the community spotlights coming up as well. Obviously, NFL's off season, so we will probably be going to a bi-weekly schedule where we're doing, every other week or something like that, unless something major comes up. So if you guys have interest in coming on, or if you want to send us your questions in prior to the episodes we record, get those in, and we will read them live. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.